Hey everybody, got another build here for you. This is the aged hardware build. What it was is that back when I was doing the bronze and copper and brass mod to the Zenison LP, at first I tried to save some money by aging hardware using the ferric acid that you etch circuit boards with, and it sort of worked, but it sort of didn't work, didn't quite get me the results I was looking for. So I saved off that hardware and I decided to use it for this build. And basically it consisted of a set of tuners, a roller nut, a bridge, and a trapeze tailpiece for a Les Paul. And so I took a Fender neck and made a body long enough for the trapeze tailpiece, and did it as a modern style, I mean a minimalist style, with the single swing arm bar. And I did what I thought about it, and it was like, well, you know, not everything is a Steinberger, and not everybody wants a Steinberger. So for a number of bridges require a headstock, like Floyd Rose. You know, I love Floyd Rose personally, so if I want a Floyd Rose, I'm pretty much stuck with a headstock. So I was like, well, what can you do about headstock in order to try to improve things? I was like, well, you can do something like this, which, let me get the tuner out of the way. This is pretty much all you can safely remove. I mean, you can remove more down here, but then you don't want to remove your shoulder, because then you can't hang it up on a regular hanger. So yeah, leaving your shoulders alone, that's pretty much all the material you can remove from the headstock. Basically what you're doing is the amount of beef on this side is the same amount of beef as on this side and up here at the end. And so, and it's perfectly strong. I did this once before on the Oriental build. But yeah, so since this was going to have a headstock, I was like, okay, well, I'll go ahead and put this shape headstock on it in order to reduce weight. And so I did that, and it's got, of course, the trapezoid neck profile. This one turned out quite nice. And the triangle neck with 2 neck screws, triangle heel joint, and the single swing arm with yeah, this is just one position because it's not a Steinberger. On a Steinberger, you got to put the bar offset to the side, and then you got to use 2 different positions for the thumb screw. And this just has, thumb screw just goes one place on the bar, and then it's got 3 positions in the body for leg bar, strap bar, and parts or hidden, stored, whatever you want to call it. And it's got this big long boat kind of body because of the trapeze tailpiece. But then again, I mean, this is big enough I could put a Bigsby on it if I wanted to, so that's kind of cool. And then all the hardware is this aged stuff from the ferric acid. And I actually had to replace 5 of the tuners because they were no longer working by the time I got around to this build. And so I found like 5 extra locking silver tuners. Just happened to be the same handedness as the 5 that were not working. And so I went ahead and aged them. And this is the one original one here on the end. You can see it has a slightly larger knob on it. And then for the finish, I was thinking of doing, what I was originally thinking of doing was like a gray whitewash kind of a look. But so I at first I hit it up with like black, or very, very thin black. And then, but that didn't really work because it was a dye, and it was more of a indigo blue, very, very dark blue than a real true black. And so it didn't thin well and stuff, and so that didn't really work, even though it did pop the grain a little bit. And so then I mixed up a really strong batch of brown, and I hit it with that, and that actually gave it a kind of brown golden color to the body and the neck both, but using the same thing on the bar, which should be the same material as the body, I think. They're both plywood, and they're both ratty out of pine, so I don't know what's going on. But this one I didn't hit it first with the light black, so this one came out more just brown, or darker brown. So, but anyway, yeah. So that, and then it's all been squirted with rattle can lacquer for the finish. Just 3 or 4 coats, and then hit it up with some, I think I hit it up with like some 320 or 600 just to knock it down, and then just polished it up with some 2000 right quick, and then just ran the little foam thingy on the drill with the polishing compound, and that's all it took in order to get it here. So, and then here on the fretboard, I wanted it also to look aged, but the fretboard had actually been finished, and so I was forced to use like sandpaper and dye in order to kind of relic the fretboard and get this effect going on it. But I'm pleased with the way it turned out. I was thinking I could go with a even finer grit sandpaper and kind of smooth it out more and get everything more of an evener brown, leaving it darker in these areas and getting it a lighter brown in these areas. But for the moment it's okay, so I kind of like the look. And yeah, despite the fact that it didn't turn out, you know, gray wash the way I was originally thinking, or stained gray, it still turned out okay. I think the colors work okay with the relic hardware. And yeah, so the relic hardware, you got the bridge, you got obviously the trapeze, the strap locks. All this stuff has been aged in the acid. I found that it works better if you use silver hardware, works best, and you take a wire brush on a drill and scuff them up first, and then throw it in the acid. And then depending on how wasted you want it to look, you just leave it in longer. But don't leave it in too long, or your parts will be eaten away totally. So, because it is acid, and it slowly etches away all the metal. And then as far as the voicing goes, I did this pickup configuration where you've got a single coil under number 5 and 6 strings, and a single coil under number 1 and 2 strings, and it actually gives you a really, really nice tone. You've got nice clear brights, and you've got a heck of a lot of bottom end, and the mids don't overpower. It's cool. It's like a regular guitar that's got a lot of treble and a lot of bass, kind of what you would expect. But the only thing is that because these are like 2 single coils, not very high either. This one's like 3 1/4 Henrys, and this is like a little under 3 Henrys, and they're hooked up in parallel, so it's not very loud. You need a larger amp, or some kind of booster pedal or something in order to really drive it. But once you put it into a decent sized amp, it sounds real pretty, really pretty. I'm quite pleased with it. You might want to take it and put it so that this pole is actually between these two strings, and this bowl is between the number 2 and 3 strings, and that way you would pick up a little bit more of the number 3 and 4 strings, because this might not have enough mid-range for some people's taste. I kind of like it, but it does have there is a noticeable difference in volume between the center 2 and the outer 2 on the bass and the treble side. So, but overall, it's a pretty cool effect. But I don't know. It's, you know, I might scooch the pickups over ever so slightly to even it out a little bit more, because it's a noticeable difference. But once you put it into a big amp, so that your 2 weak single coils in parallel actually make some good gain, it sounds really nice. Really nice. I was surprised. I was surprised and pleased. So actually, I tried this at one point when I was working on the curved dry tail tuner, but I decided not to implement it. So, but anyway, yeah, as you can see, it's basically just it's a regular guitar with a minimalist body and a single swing arm, and it, you know, the single swing arm, despite the fact that it's got a headstock and everything, it all works just fine. It sits right there, and it's, you know, right where you want it. So, and I've pretty much figured out like how to locate the bars and such for these guitars now. Basically, you take the bridge and you put it over the center of your right leg like this. That more or less tells you how long the bar needs to be. And then it looks like something around 25 degrees for the leg bar puts it at more or less the optimal playing angle. Depending, you know, obviously that's going to depend on the player. And you could always do something like back here where it has the holes for the different positions. You can simply add more holes, which will allow you to, you know, drop the guitar up and down this way when it was on a strap, or drop the guitar up and down this way when it was sitting on your knees or across your legs, so to speak. So there's, you know, I've just got it set up for what seem to be the 3 more or less ideal positions, but you could add a wide range of adjustability to this system with no problem at all. And other than that, I'm really pleased the way these keto wood dies turn out when you do this trapezoid carve on these necks. Something about these necks, I guess the way the necks are cut, and then when you put a trapezoid profile on it, it reveals some interesting figuring, because I tend to get this kind of an effect on almost all of these necks that I put a trapezoid on. So I'm quite pleased with that. This one, the finish overall on this turned out pretty nice, so not too shabby, not too shabby. Would have been nice if this was a better match for the rest of the body, but that's life. That's life. This is basically a leftover parts build, is what you might call this, since this is the leftover aged hardware from the Zenison LP. But yeah, so that's the latest and greatest build. This is the aged hardware build, and the next one is already in the works, and that's the I'm doing a cigar box tail tuner, so that'll be an interesting change of pace. So until the next build, everybody have a good one.